Hello, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. Today, the question I bring to you is, how often do you think you say the words, thank you, in a single day? How often do you think you say the words, thank you, in a single day? Is it 0, 5, 2, 20? How often do you think? How often do you think you say thank you? I've been thinking a lot about gratitude and words of thanks since the devotion that I offered last week. And since then, I read another devotion on the topic of saying thank you. Not just the first time, but a second time. Thank you again. This devotion is in this book entitled Daily Guideposts, 2017. It's from November 21st of that year. It's written by a woman named Elizabeth Sherrill. And she wrote, I couldn't remember visiting my friend in the hospital. It's such an automatic thing to call on a friend recovering from surgery. But months after she came home, I received a card. I was remembering again your kindness to me when I was hospitalized, she wrote. Your visit lifted my spirits and I'm sure had much to do with my recovery. I just wanted to say thank you again. I'm sure this gracious woman had thanked me at the time, but how much more this meant. I kept her card on the refrigerator for weeks. There's power in thank you. The response, too, when I take a time to offer a second thank you, often is actually out of proportion to the effort it takes for me to do this. On my list of a second thank you was the man who found my key and brought it to my apartment. I've viewed strangers more kindly ever since, she wrote months later to the man. He wrote back that he'd sent copies of her letter to every grandchild. In July, she phoned a woman who had led carols through their apartment building the previous December. The woman said, I'd almost decided not to try it again this year. She said, you've changed my mind. It's a strange thing, too, the author writes. As she writes down the nice things people do, there are more and more of them to record. Her passage of scripture for this devotion was, How can we thank God enough? From 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 9. Thank you. A second thank you, a first thank you. Thank you. These words have such power. And I've been thinking in the recent days what it might be like if our Garden of Grace devotion viewers had a thank you contest of sorts. What if we sought to be intentional about saying thank you more and more? When different things happen and we reflect on things that happened in the past, we may offer a second thank you to folks, like in the devotion I just read about. We may take the time to reach out and say thank you to someone who's not expecting it at all. People we've lived next door to for years, thank you for being a wonderful neighbor. People who teach our children, thank you for teaching my child. Somebody who's walked with you through a particular time, thank you. Thank you for walking with me. Somebody who offered you a word of encouragement when you needed it, thank you. Somebody who held an event that you attended and found it meaningful, thank you. Thank you for what you did. It meant a lot to me. As I read in that devotion, sometimes words of thanks can offer encouragement to people just when they need it. Maybe they're trying to decide whether or not to do something like they did before that was meaningful to you. Like the lady who led the Christmas carols and was thinking about not doing it again until she got that second thanks from the woman who wrote the devotion. So, how many times do you think you'll say thank you today? How many times in the coming days? Let's start to count them. I would love to hear from you. Can you put in the comments how many times you say thank you today? Maybe not. I think we'd have to do like, you could count today and then comment on it tomorrow. Each day, you could comment on the day before on how many times you said thank you. May we be inspired to offer words of gratitude. There's a passage of scripture that I can't remember exactly now, but it says, spur each other on to do good deeds. May we spur each other on in a competitive way to say thank you. Let us see what kind of effect that has not only on our own hearts, but on the lives of those around us. And may we always remember to give thanks to God, our source of life and gratitude. I pray God's peace for you today and always. Together, may we spread words of thanks all around. Take care.